It seemed like Tyree Wilson had one of his better games last week with the sack and tackle for loss. What do you think about his development just the last couple of weeks? Had a big game against the Dolphins as well.
That play he made on the jet sweep was probably my favorite play since he's been here. You saw the awareness before. You saw Sutton there, pointed it out, had some awareness, fixed his stance, got his eyes in the right place, like we've been talking about. In terms of defensive linemen coming from transition from college to the pros, getting their eyes in the right spot, let his key take him to the ball, and made a good play. So you could just see the progression is coming along. So I was happy for him.
How did you analyze how the young corners that had to step up and have to play some more time this week? How did they come out of this game?
They competed, just like we're going to have to do this week. It doesn't get any easier this week. With the guys that you have at Kansas City and the quarterback and the scheme they have there. So, but they went out there, they competed. Just didn't fall the way we wanted to fall, but they went out there and competed. I love their toughness. I love their toughness, and they're willing to go on to the next play. But I'm happy about that. And then we just got to keep getting better every day.
Patrick, what makes Travis Kelce so difficult to defend? Every year, people think he's going to take a step back. You look up, he's got 68 catches again. Doesn't stop, doesn't lose a step.
Obviously they have a rapport, himself and the quarterback. So they're comfortable with one another, especially at that position, based on the route tree. Sitting over the ball, checking to the flat, things of that nature. Those are outlets for the quarterback. So naturally, I would feel like you're going to accumulate some receptions there. But the biggest thing that stands out, aside from just athletically, he's big, he can catch, he can run. The big thing is just the intelligence in terms of understanding how to sit down in zones, understand how to work away from leverage and man-to-man coverage. Those are things that I believe, from my experience watching the league, they get better as you get older. And then it's about taking care of your body and making sure that you can execute it. As long as your body's keeping up with your mind, those are all attributes that end up improving as you get older in terms of how to work leverage, how to use your hands, how to sit down in zones. So it's impressive.
There's that old saying that the longer you stay around, the more you end up seeing. Mm-hmm. In your career as a defensive coach in the NFL and now a coordinator, have you seen that position, just the tight end position, change in terms of how they're being used and how you guys are trying to devise ways to take them out of the game?
One thing, Coach taught me when I first got in the league is to know the history of the league. There have been a lot of good tight ends throughout the history of the league. So it's funny, some of the stuff that we're doing on defense, I'm talking about we in terms of the coaches in the league, it's stuff that, Bill and those guys were doing Jim Johnson, those guys, they were doing this stuff a long time ago. And then just in terms of the players, there have been a lot of good tight ends throughout the league. I was around one, a really good one with Gronk when I was at New England, but I don't want to single out anybody, but there were a lot of tight ends before this era that were doing a lot of good things. I know that.
I know you guys played KC before, and I think we talked about this at the time, but once again, the biggest play of the game for the Chiefs this week was Mahomes toward the sideline. Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of thinks he's going out. He turns it into 20 more yards. I guess how much of a challenge does that provide, and what is the coaching point on that for guys near the sideline? You don't want to take a penalty, but you don't want to let them turn upfield.
You got to do everything within the rules of the game, and you just got to close to good pursuit angles, and you got to force him. If he's going to go out of bounds, you got to force him out of bounds. You got to force him out of bounds. But the big thing is just being relentless. He forces you to be relentless with your pursuit in terms of the pass rush. I think their offensive line does a really good job of being aware of where he is and what he's going to do. You watch those guys; they make a lot of big plays. Similar to the one we had in the third quarter, the last game. I think it was Thuney who made a great play. In terms of how we had it. We had somebody accounting for Mahomes, but he made a good play. So, you just got to close with relentless pursuit, good angles, and you got to be ready to win because they're good. He's good. His old linemen, they're good. They know how to work with him. So it's a challenge.
You guys, it's a different year, different teams, everything else. But how much do you kind of show the guys what they did last year in this game, and say that you can have this kind of performance again?
Nobody's living in the past, but there's familiarity in terms of scheme. I've been here. This is my third season. This is my sixth time going against the Chiefs as a coordinator. I did it one time with the Giants. So, we're always, going back for, a frame of reference from older games. That's what we do as coaches. But in terms of the guys, they're just working on this week, and I'm sure we'll sprinkle in tape here and there from last year. But it's so week to week in terms of how the whole teams change. Some of the pieces are the same, but the team changes and how they attack you.
Coach, I asked JP this question, and I just want to hear your thoughts on this. Going back to the rookies, how much of the practice that you have, especially on a short week like today, focuses on them being mentally strong and prepared for a game, especially against a rival like Kansas City?
The way I learned it, these short weeks, and I'm about to go in there and explain to the players, you take care of your physical, in terms of getting your body right. Make sure you're focused on that. Make sure you're taking care of emotionally getting up for the game, because it's an emotional game. They got to get up for that. And I said, and you really got to trust me here in terms of trying to get you in terms of the mental part, in terms of tendencies and things of that nature. I'm going to try to streamline it so that you're not overdoing it. We got to kind of build them through there. And so it's kind of a combination. I'm here to help. The coaches are here to help with part of the mental part, but for me, the players is about getting their bodies ready for the game and really getting emotionally ready for the game in terms of getting up for a contest like this where there's a division opponent, it's a holiday, you're on the road, there's going to be some excitement. You got to emotionally be ready to go for that. And then, I got to charge back up too. It's just the same thing. It's a shorter week. You got to charge back up to be ready for that. So that's a big part of it.
Just a quick follow-up question. You mentioned the holiday, and obviously the holidays are always very special. So in that sense of being emotionally ready, does it go into effect with they have to realize like it's Thanksgiving but they're not with their families, they got to focus on the game? Is that still a thing?
I mean, I can speak for coaches, I'm sure the players are the same. I don't celebrate any holidays till after, the season is just, I told you I do like Christmas, so I do give myself a few hours for Christmas, but holiday, no holiday, it doesn't matter, but, there's going to be, obviously, people are going to be excited about the day.
Chiefs are one of the best teams in the league at making sure they're in third and manageable.
Say it one more time.
Like they're one of the best teams in the league
Yeah.
at making sure they're in third and manageable and staying ahead of the chains. Like how important can negative plays and tackles for lost speed is trying to get them off track?
It's crucial. It's crucial. It's crucial. You get them off track. You get them off track. Get them to try to make them single. Try to eliminate one element, whether it's the run game, pass game, whatever it may be. But it's critical to do that. It's critical to do that because when they're able to do whatever they want, obviously they have one of the best players in the league at the quarterback position, one of the better coaches in the league. So we got to try to make them one dimensional as much as possible.
Last question, Zeke.
Coach, how much can you take away from the last time that you played those guys a couple of weeks ago? How much can really change in between 3-4 weeks?
The league, a lot of the coaches, they're creative. Sure, it's not so much change, it's about how the scheme's evolving. So it's just a little, you add a little tweak here and there. So, our scheme is evolving throughout the year. I'm sure theirs is going to evolve. They have players that, Hopkins has now been there for a while, and you can see the production with him. In terms of the backs, in terms of how they're using them a little bit different, in terms of carries and stuff. Hunt's getting more, and we'll see what happens with Pacheco. But, it's not true change. It's more about evolving. You just got to be ready to adjust within the game.
All right, discussion.
All right, thank you.